Hello and welcome to episode 321 of the Heart of Markness Led Zeppelin podcast. Welcome. Thanks for coming. If this is your first time, what I do is every week I play selections from a different bootleg recording of Led Zeppelin or Led Zeppelin adjacent projects. And, talk about the songs, talk about a little bit of what's going on in the tour, if I know. And, you enjoy, I enjoy, we go on with our day. And hopefully this is something nice for you to look forward to if you dig it. And I also do, sporadically, bonus episodes with other bands. The last couple, I think, were Bad Company and Lou Reed. So there's other stuff in the mix as well. And you can find all of this at heartofmarkness.com. You can find all the shows, and more importantly, you can find links to the entire recording of what I share. So I'm going to be playing 3 songs tonight from Led Zeppelin at Cleveland, Ohio, April 28th, 1977. Fantastic show and a very good recording. And you can go to heartofmarkness.com, look up this episode, read the little thing, and at the bottom there's a link to get this entire concert recording. And I will read you the set list now so you know what you're getting into. Typical 1977 set list opens with The Song Remains the Same, Into Sick Again, Nobody's Fault But Mine, In My Time of Dying, Since I've Been Loving You, No Quarter, which is fantastic, you should definitely hear that. 10 Years Gone, also really good. Battle of Evermore, with John Paul Jones singing Sandy Denny's part. Going to California, Black Country Woman, Bron-Y-Aur Stomp, and if I remember correctly, there's a little bit of Dancing Days Teased in there somewhere. White Summer, Black Mountainside, straight into Kashmir, straight into Over the Top, which is Bonzo's drum solo. It's not Moby Dick anymore. Jimmy Page's Noise solo, which looked really cool. Into Achilles Last Stand, then Stairway to Heaven, Rock and Roll, and finish it off with an odd second encore of Trampled Underfoot. Super cool. Now, this is, you have noticed, perhaps, that I have named this Part 3. This is another one of those shows where a million years ago, I think it's episodes 46 and 47, I did this show. But I was listening to this week because I remembered how good the No Quarter was, so I threw that on. Then I listened to the rest of the show, and I'm like, I gotta do this. So I am playing songs that I did not feature in those other 2 episodes, so you will not have any redundancy, even though it's been 5 years since I did them. So we are going to open with the opening. Song Remains the Same. It's a good one. They start off strong, which is really cool. And, it's Led Zeppelin. It is powerful. 1977 was exceptionally powerful and clinically brutal. And let us enjoy some brutality, shall we? The song remains the same. little bit abrupt with the cutoff there. Apologies for that. But a fantastic, rollicking, powerful performance of that song, if I do say so myself. Now, my very first bootleg that I bought, I think back in 1984, perhaps, maybe 1985, at Innerlight Records, Manchester, New Hampshire, which was more of a punk record store. There were lots of G.G. Allen records because he was from Manchester, and bootlegs, etc. But they also had some Zeppelin stuff, and the first one I bought was The Destroyer, which was the night before, April 27th, 1977, a soundboard recording pressed on absolutely atrocious quality vinyl that had pockmarks in it, tails of little strands of vinyl because it wasn't cut properly around the edges, offset spindle holes. I mean, my goodness. Talk about low tech. And not the best show of the tour either, although the acoustic section of that show, the 27th, being the first one that I'd ever heard, I kind of imprinted on it like a baby bird. So that's kind of my reference acoustic set, even though it's not the best. It's absolutely not the worst. But the next night, the 28th, which we're listening to now, is much, much better, and dare I say, even some moments approaching magical. But basically very, very good in that everybody's on. Bonzo seems to be just a little more locked in, like one click more locked in with Jonesy in this show. And Jimmy, fantastic. Robert, of course, 1977 is pretty good for his voice. He gets powerful again. So we hear some good stuff in such circumstances, yeah? Which is why you need to go to heartofmarkness.com and download this so you can listen to the whole concert. You can listen to it while you're driving, while you're working out in your garage, while you're cutting the grass, while you're just fucking around, whatever. Or you can just sit in the dark with the headphones on, like when you were a kid listening to Pink Floyd The Wall or Dark Side of the Moon over and over and over and over and over again, and just get into the music. Speaking of getting into the music, let's get into some of this music with the next song I'm going to play, which is Achilles Last Stand. Usually a banger, and in this case, no exception. Very technically intense song. So let's listen, shall we? Well, that was badass. Powerful, incredible, complex. Like Rush, if they turned into the Hulk. Led Zeppelin is Rush's rage form. Incredibly well done. Incredibly well done. Incredibly well done. Have I mentioned that I like this band? Really, Mark? 45 years a fan? Yep. I was a fan. I waited till Bonzo died before becoming a fan to show my true devotion. Actually, no, I just was a bit too young when Bonzo died to be a Led Zeppelin fan. I think in 1980 I still liked the Beatles and maybe the Rolling Stones, greatest hits, the Through a Glass Darkly, Through the Past Darkly album. Anywho, that's neither here nor there. Did you know you can find me anywhere on social media where there is social media except TikTok because I'm 57 and I'm not going on TikTok, including YouTube, Heart of Markness. There's a Facebook group with almost 400 people in it, the Heart of Markness Facebook group, where you could talk about episodes, talk about Led Zeppelin, talk about classic rock, talk about bootlegs, and make some friends with similar interests as yourself. You're welcome to join. And I gatekeep strongly, so there is no spam bullshit that gets in. Because every day the page is spammed by somebody either pretending to be Robert Plant or somebody pretending to be Jimmy Page posting pictures. My beloved, do you hear my call? Tell me you like my music. Tell me my music means something to you. Just dumb ass shit. But yes, I'm there if you want to go and check out things. Twitter, Blue Sky, Instagram, neither of which I'm very active on, all of which I should be. And the aforementioned heartofmarkness.com, which is tied to the merchofmarkness.com, which is my merch store, where I have for $13.99, a mere pittance, the simple mug of truth, which is just a white coffee mug that says music is good. You should have one, unless you don't think music is good, because that's what people are going to think if you don't have one. Just saying. Alrighty. All of this is courtesy of the Titans, upon whose shoulders rests this humble yet mighty podcast. I am, of course, speaking of my patrons. The ones that support the channel, the ones that keep the lights on here, especially during my stint of unemployment, which ends tomorrow when I start my new job. Thank you, Jesus, for this. Man, it sucks being unemployed. It sucks even more being unemployed when you're older, which you all know because almost everybody that listens is older. And if you're not older, then you're rolling your eyes saying, oh yeah, how hard is it for a cishet white man to get a job? Well, if he's old, pretty hard. So, all of this goes to my patrons who do keep the lights on, and in return, they get a couple extra episodes just for them every month. I did a Coverdale Page show, their first show of their Japanese tour, for these guys, and I've done a couple of visitations of shows that have been remixed and remastered by Northbridge. I think the latest, man, I can't remember what, Jimmy and the Black Crows, Roseland, I think. So there's good stuff there. Take a look. And there's esoteric stuff. Like, hey, you want to hear when Jimmy jammed with Ginger Baker? There you go. You want to hear when Jimmy jammed with Jaco Pastorius? There you go. Stuff like that. Lots of Roy Harper, etc. The deep, deep cuts. And a Laurel and Hardy handshake goes out to the current Titans upon whose shoulders rests this humble yet mighty podcast. Stephen, Ryan, John, Gary, Keith, Tilda, Steve, George, Big Ed, Kenny of regular size, Picard, Kneggern, Jeff, Wayne, Brad, Danielle, Tracy, Other and Supreme David saying, hey, if it's time to get a colonoscopy because you're old, get a colonoscopy if you want to keep getting older, because you don't want any surprises. And even though it's a shitty experience, but bump, it's better than the alternative. Bonzo, Billy, and Mimo. Thank you, my friends. Moving on to page 2. Zero Mark 30. Again, fantastic username. Holy Flash, Don, Marvin, Black Dragon, Keld, Mario C., Lance, and Rob from where? That's right, Melbourne, Australia. Thank you, guys. means the world to me. You really, really helped me keep the podcast going during the past 7 months of unemployment. I didn't have to worry about dipping into the kitty to pay for this because you guys covered it, for which I am eternally grateful. Thank you. You're all wonderful people. Patreon.com/heartofmarkness if you want to be a wonderful person too. Danke. All right. Moving right along. Let us finish off this wonderful episode with a rare encore performance of Trampled Underfoot. If I recall correctly, which I rarely do, I think they would swap Trampled Underfoot with In My Time of Dying, maybe? Or is that Over the Hills and Far Away? I don't know. In any case, I don't recall it being the very last performance of probably the second encore, if rock and roll was the first. But it is awesome, it is badass, it is powerful, it is cool, and there is some cool Jimmy Wah-wah work. So let's listen, shall we? Here we go. There we have it. Good stuff. Good stuff. Great performance. And yeah, please go to heartofmarkness.com. Grab this show. Listen to it. It's worth hearing. It's worth having. To have and to hold. And thank you for listening. And I will, after I complete my first week at my new job, hooray, I'll do another episode next weekend. Thanks for listening. Please be good to yourselves and each other. If you need to reach me for something, you can reach me in any of the ways that I mentioned, the website, any of the social medias, etc. But you can also reach me at mark@heartofmarkness.com if you're so motivated to do so. All right. Thank you. Again, please be good to yourselves and each other. Bye-bye.